Welcome to Mornings with Matt, personal and professional development training that connects the art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Matt. She's laughing at me because I'm over here just messing around. This is an amazing day, as always. I'm very excited to be here. Today we have on the show one of my favorite people in the entire world, one of our longtime students, Miss Seema. Hello, Seema. How are you?
She is muted.
You are muted and nobody can see, nobody can hear.
I'm good.
Hey! Give a round of applause, Joey. Give a round of applause.
I got it.
Sound effects.
There we go.
Talk to me.
Yes, I'm doing well. Just been quarantined for 2 months, but it's been good. I'm happy. I'm content. Have my own little routine in place, so I'm at peace right now.
Excellent.
So,
and so
miss you all though.
We miss you too. So you are I like your description here. You are an engineer by day and a creative by night.
Yeah, creative being my night. Yeah.
You go out,
That's like my
you go out on the
now.
town at night and just go get creative.
Yeah. I like to say that because there's like a lot of things I'm passionate about, on the creative side as well. And it's kind of funny because, when I go to work, not a lot of people would know that side of me. They do get hints of the crazy Seema, but for the most part, it's like I'm in front of a computer almost the entire day, like coding or doing something. And then once I'm done with work, that's it. I'm out and about. I'm doing my classes, doing my activities, doing shoots. It's like Seema the celebrity. Out and about.
So
but
Seema,
when I come back to work, it's normal.
Seema, what kind of engineer are you?
I'm a software engineer.
Okay. And who do you work with?
Yeah. I work at Intel.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
very cool. So let me ask you, how has your creative endeavors and your work, sort of with the studio and becoming an actress and all this, how has that affected your engineering? Do you think it has helped?
I think it has, I feel like I give that little bit of uniqueness to the team. I'm not to stereotype everyone as the, nerd who's like an introvert. Everyone is talented and they have their own side passions and activities. But I feel like I'm not afraid to speak out and, break the shell and have some humor in and be myself. So I think that gives people this idea of like, oh, okay, we can be chill, we can smile for a change. So I like doing that. I think that has definitely helped. I think just being free, to be honest, carefree. But I can be serious too. So I think I have like a good balance of both.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was on here with a high schooler not that long ago, and he brought up the question, why should I do algebra in high school? And I was like, I don't know, dude. So I looked it up on Google, and because what's interesting is I don't use algebra all the time. Like that's not something I use in my everyday life. So I wanted to be honest with him. But what's cool is the answer to the question that Google responded with was the point of algebra is to create these really hard problem solving skills. To create these problems that are difficult, and so it's like a big problem. You gotta simplify down into small pieces, and once I read that, I was able to respond to him and say, "Hey, dude, like I use that skill every single day of my life. So now I maybe I didn't know before, but now I know, and I'm really grateful for the algebra class I took because I need that skill. I have to problem solve, right? So anyway, my thought process is." I don't think oftentimes we think about creativity when it comes to coding because it's, numbers and this and that. But really, there is a little bit of creativity there too. And if you find ways of doing it better or faster, more efficient, or isn't there a thing with code like there's a beautiful, simple code that everyone's like, ooh, like that's really good code.
Yeah. there's like a design approach. And also a lot of people need to understand that it's not just also us being in our own bubble and just typing all day. Like we work a lot with, business partners and, customers and users, and there is a lot of talking involved, and that dynamic is really important. That's a skill that we may or may not get in college. And I think, as you said, I think that's why you might see a lot of business professionals come to you for, team exercises and things like that, because improv does help a lot for, how do you talk to someone, how do you like adjust to a situation and things like that. And I think that gives me also a little bit of an edge.
For sure.
I feel like, okay, yeah, I might be good at this skill more than another, and it's a good balance, to be honest.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah, I think also likewise the engineering helps the acting as well, because if I go to an audition or something like that, people are immediately impressed to be like, oh wait, you're just not just an actor, just not just a model. It's like, oh, you're smart, you can do this too. It's not like it gives me a different kind of approach to the acting side too. It's very interesting how both have kind of balanced out in its own way.
That's amazing. In my experience, the engineer friends that I've had, they always tend to be the best improvisers, because I break down improv into a formula, essentially a mathematical formula. Like, hey, we can create laughs mathematically. And as soon as you understand the formula, you're like, oh, I can do that. Like, that's fine. I add this plus this and it equals that. And I can do it, And so I've seen a lot of, and also I preach to the kids that you got to be smart to be an actor. You have to be. Because there's so many different roles, so much complexity to it that, not going to school is not an option. You really got to study and be, a lifelong learner if you want to be an actor.
Yeah. Even the simplest things like memorizing lines, like things like that, we don't realize how much, of our mind and our brain we're using. Not just in acting, I realized that with dancing too. Like creative fields, they get a lot of slack for like, oh yeah, you don't need to be smart or anything like that. You just have to be like creative and imagine. But I was like, no, it needs a lot of brain power that I haven't even tapped into. So yeah, that's something that I like to definitely tell people and highlight, say like, I always thought going into this, I'll be like, oh, I can do this. I'm fine. I got through school. I can get through. But no, it's like I use a lot of my brain, a different side of it. But it is very critical.
Awesome. All right. So before we get to our questions here, I would love to just have you talk a little bit about Sushi with Seema.
Sushi with Seema. Let's get raw.
Let's get raw, baby.
No. Yeah. No, that's the irony of it, is that it's called Sushi with Seema. It's a podcast that I kind of started, I think, back in college, or like about 5 to 10 years ago. I always imagined myself that one day I wanted to be a talk show host. Like I wanted to have my own talk show, and like I really loved that idea of it. So there was like, actually, I think I was watching this Indian show, and it's called Coffee with Karan. So it had that alliteration. So I was like, oh, I should call it Sushi with Seema. It sounds great. And then, I guess cut to like last year this time, I realized that there's this outburst of podcasts happening, including the Deering podcast. And I was listening to a lot of podcasts as well. There was this like surge of that. And I realized that, this is the closest I can get to doing a talk show within my, production capabilities and like budgets and everything like that. And I'm a big believer, like as our topic is going to be about, it's like, if you want to do something, just go out and do it. So yeah, I decided and I reached out to you guys. Jay was my first guest, and I that was when I justified my name of Sushi with Seema being let's get raw. So I don't eat sushi since I'm a vegetarian, so I had to somehow justify this. So I was like, okay, let's have a raw moment, and it's just basically me highlighting a lot of people who've impacted my life. It started out with Phoenix people, because I came here not having any friends and not knowing anyone. And now I feel like I have a community of great supporters and people have encouraged me and taught me amazing values. So I wanted to highlight that and share that with the world. And even if no one listens to it, it's kind of like a diary almost in my life, that I had this experience in this moment in my lifetime.
Speaking of that experience, you had sort of an opposite experience from a lot of people, where were you born in the States and then you moved back to India? Is that right?
Yeah,
Tell me about that.
That was crazy. I say I've had the best of both worlds. Not to give the Hannah Montana reference, but I was born in California, and then my parents, they packed up to move back to India for, to move with the family and stuff. So I was like it was a very weird age. I was like 12, and I was very moody, and it was tough. Like, I went from a public school to an all-girls Christian school with uniforms and whatnot. It was very disciplined. The curriculum was extremely different as well. I had to learn new languages, new subjects. I had 11 subjects. So I think it was not just an approach of this, okay, like I'm going to a new country, which is a different culture, but different kind of academics and a lot of adjustment, making new friends, and especially at that age. But I think it taught me to survive any circumstance. So even moving to Phoenix, as I said, like for my job, it was not as tough as anything, because I'm used to that. I'm used to like moving, like, and doing that move there. And I definitely gained a lot of great life skills that have helped me. And I think that experience has given me something to share and a lot to be thankful for. I think in the you get different perspectives, and that's important. I think also as not just as an actor, but as a human being. That's why like people travel and things like that, because you understand cultures, you go and live with that. So yeah, India, that experience was, something that was tough and challenging. I don't encourage all families to do that, but I think I was up for that task, and I think my parents are definitely happy and proud of me for adjusting to that.
Yeah, I mean,
but I also discovered acting there too. I did a lot of acting in school. So what happened was I was like, oh man, like I'm like, what is happening? I don't like this. So then me and my friend decided to do a lot of acting and improv and put on plays. So then I became the cultural like leader as well. So acting was kind of where it blossomed there. So yeah.
So it was meant to be. God was directing you that way. That's amazing. It can be so hard for anybody at any age, but especially kids, to be uprooted and moved and have these big, massive life changes, right? And so, like you said, it's prepared you for life. And I think right now, the world is going through this uprooting, and it's not necessarily geography, but it's this like, oh man, my whole world has been turned upside down. And if you haven't been through anything like that, if you haven't dealt with adversity at a really high level and gotten through it, it can be hard, because you're like, oh, what do I do? How do I navigate this? And the truth is, we all know it's going to end eventually. Like, we all know there'll be a time when we look back and go, remember that year when that thing happened, and that was crazy, right?
Yeah.
But right now we're still in it. So without having any kind of like an end in sight, or just like a known, it can be scary, So that's really good. You're prepared for that. All right, so it's your turn. Hit me with some questions.
Well, it's more like, I guess, discussion points, and again, getting your thoughts on it. Like the topic of all this is like manifestation, and that's been on my mind for, I guess, the last couple of years in terms of like what's happened in my life. And I wanted to ask you about like, how do you have like a philosophy behind, when you want to manifest something? Do you have a process behind it, other than of course just acting on it? But do you go through something? Because I know you're like, you seem to be like a perfectionist, someone who masters something to the T. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, like to see if I'm doing something different or how I can approach it differently.
Sure. No, I'm a huge believer in manifestation. I think our thought life is so important, and what we put in comes out. And so we have to be very careful what we put in our brains. And ideally, so what I strive for now, me, much like everybody else, my entire schedule has been uprooted. There's no doubt it does not look the way it looked, before the pandemic hit. And so I'm adjusting and trying to get myself back to the schedule that I would prefer. But right now it's just not possible. You know, I'm working more hours, longer hours, different hours than I used to because of what I'm doing is different. It's not because I'm watching TV, not because of whatever else, but because, hey, like we had to make some shifts, some changes. So like this show, for instance, this show was invented because of the pandemic. That's why we started. Normally right now I would be writing in my old schedule. Like I would be right now writing, and that's not happening, you know, so I've had to adjust the schedule, etc. But when it comes to manifestation, I think that the book ending of your day is the most important thing. So if you can get yourself to a place where you end your day and begin your day by telling yourself exactly how things are going to be. So for instance, I wake up every morning and I just go through my affirmations, my list of affirmations, and it's like, this is what is true in my life right now. This is true. So and it always starts with, I am so happy and grateful because of these things. So like a couple of the for instances were, I am so happy and grateful now that I am wealthy beyond my wildest dreams, having made the decision to better my mind, body, and spirit each and every day so that I may inspire others to do the same on a massive scale around the world. I tell myself that every day, every morning, every night. I tell myself that. I have one for God, start there, then I go to family, then I go to my colleagues here, and then I go to some self-driven things. But nothing is attached to actual like dollars and cents and things like that. Everything comes back to the why for me. So I set goals, and the goals are attached to things and whatever objects and stuff, but that's all movable. My why is immovable. My values immovable. So, and then the manifestation is just continuing to tell yourself the same thing, and then you find creatively a way to get there. So I'll give you a for instance. One of our big goals as a studio is 5 years from now, we want to impact 10 million people in 1 year. We want to positively impact 10 million people in 1 year. That's a goal we have. That goal got shifted when the pandemic hit, because it used to be 5 million. I shifted it to 10. So all I did was make it harder. I was like, all right, let's go all in. But what's crazy is we got uprooted, and through our navigation and pivoting of our company, we're now reaching more people more often than ever before, and we are getting closer to our goals than ever before. And like our goal for this year is to reach 1 million people, to positively impact 1 million people in 1 year. That's our goal. Now, some of that is hard to track, but I need people like you to help me out with this. But you know, because you don't really know 100% the impact you have, and then you have, and then you have, as people like kind of navigate and your influence gets spread, you know, so you can kind of only guess on certain things. But yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. Like I can tell you, just because of this mentality, and then diving into things differently and having to step back and look at things, I have a massive amount of respect for you, for software engineers and people who code and really understand these things, because I've been diving into our analytics and stuff for like the first time ever. And man, it's like, it's a beast. I'm like getting in there going, whoa, like Google's got like 12 different tools to track all my different stuff. And I'm like, ah. But it's very important to me to do it, because I'm going, hey, there's no other way you can impact this many people unless you find a way to reach them. You know, like you've got a message, there's a message that's got to get out there of love, and you got to connect to more people. So this is the only way. And then that's what drives me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have like a massive respect for Joey too, because like the way he coordinates things and does the production, that's like, and then of course with you, the way you also like just make people so comfortable and just understand things just by looking at someone. You're able to like speak to them, like speak to their soul. So like I think all of you have your strengths, and as a team, when you guys come together, like I genuinely miss that love and respect. I was just like, before this show, I was like thinking about you guys, and I was like, oh my gosh, I miss Brian, and it's like hi Miss and Shay and all of you guys. Like you guys really play to your strengths, and I think you're definitely bound to reach that wide audience just by your guys' personality.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you brought up Joey. I'd like Joey to talk for a second here, and I'm gonna set you up, Joey, for a second.
Okay.
Can we see you? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So Joey, when he started, this is an interesting time for our company actually, because this is a year from the time that Joey was really beginning to move into more of a full-time role here. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joey, but it was very scary for you.
Yeah.
I had to talk Joey into the fact that he was capable of doing this.
Facts.
He said, I can't do it. Like, I'm not capable of doing this, 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 and this. And I go, not only are you capable, you're going to do more than you ever dreamed of. You're going to be better than the person you're afraid of replacing. Like, you have unlimited potential, bro. We just got to tap into that thing. And it took a little while for me to talk you into this mentally. So
yeah.
you want to dive into that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, it was just exactly what you talk about. Just a lot of like, ceiling over my head, like doubt of what could be, because I had never thought of running something at such a high level and such a high scale, and I know how much this place means to you and like what you do here, and I didn't even know back then like to the degree of how much you do here for people, for the students and the people who connect to the students and trying to make everybody feel famous and important. And so coming on, this was definitely something I was afraid of, because like looking at everything, it's like it was like a foreign language, basically learning everything, and then telling myself that I could do it was also something that I struggled with, because I was like it was a very quick inherent reaction to just say, I can't do that, and then move on. And so that had to be like beaten out of me over the last year. But definitely it's been life-changing on the other side of it, for sure.
And I got to tell you, so I tell Joey all the time, he's a master manifester. That's another reason it's important he talks right now. He really is. So when he thinks of something and focuses on it, it comes true. So I keep telling him, dude, like I really want a new car, bro. Can we really get you focusing on this?
It's like the genie.
Yeah, I got my eye on a Genesis, like a used Genesis. I want to pick one up. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I need Joey to focus on it so we can come through.
But like speaking of that, Joey, like I kind of get what you're saying. It's like almost like the imposter syndrome, right? Like you're good at this, but you're still not sure. So cut to now, like 1 year later, you're like skilled at all this stuff. Do you get that doubt, or was that doubt only when you initially started? Because I feel the same way too. Sometimes when I initially started like the podcast, I was like, can I even do this? Am I capable of this? Even though it's all I've ever manifested, all I ever wanted. But sometimes for, different things. But like, I guess once you cut to 1 year now, and now I'm like, yeah, I can totally do it. I'm totally confident in myself. Do you feel like that's like just an initial feeling?
It's definitely something that I still fight with every now and then. One of my biggest things that I had to get over was overconfidence and under preparation. So I think nowadays it's more of, I have the same feeling, but it's for a good why versus a bad why. So before it was because I would doubt myself, tell myself I can't do this thing, and then it wouldn't get done, or like I would have to be talked out of it for like an hour or an hour and a half by Matt or Brian or Shay. And nowadays it's more of like, I'll tell myself like, okay, let's double, triple check this thing, like confident in the fact that something's going to go wrong. So I would say in that way it's still there, but it's there for a good reason versus a bad reason. And that actually helps me a lot, because I've been able to get rid of a lot of errors through learning that from Matt and from our team, just double and triple checking everything, because with production especially, like you just have to expect that your tech is not going to work, and so you have to have backup plans and then a backup plan for your backup plan. And so I would say that it's still there, but it's there for a positive reason nowadays.
And I would talk on this too. So working with me is like a workout in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because he is now fully confident in the things that I told him about a year ago. But now, guess what? I've moved our bar way up, So now I'm talking to him about things that we're going to do. Like, we're going to make feature films and we are going to create a television show, and he's going to be the one in charge of it and in charge of teams of people. And he's right now questioning that. Like, I don't think that that's possible. And it's like, no, it is. You got to open your mind. It's 100% possible. When we don't know the why, we don't know the how, but we know the why. We don't know the how, but we know the why. So if we focus on the fact that we must be creating light-driven content, that is our vision, it's absolutely has to happen. There's no way around it. Then the how is going to take care of itself. And that's basically like, if your why is strong enough, you find the how. The how just like figures itself out, you know, because through trial and error and just grit and will, and you do whatever it takes, and then all of a sudden you pave a way. But definitely, I would say, Joey, the expectations now have been, they're always risen. Like the second he does a great job and we're set up, I'm like, dude, that was so awesome. And then I go, I wonder if we could be better.
Yeah. Every
Joey
time.
the genie.
Joey the genie.
You should tell her the analogy of the paint.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So Joey one night, he snuck into the studio and he painted the floor black.
Yeah.
He repainted everything, and it looked really nice because it had been scuffed up from all the actors. And when he was done painting, I walked in and Joey, it's beautiful, like unbelievable. And I start looking around, and then I was like, you know, I never noticed there's these white, you missed a couple spots, these tiny little white specks, right? And what I told him was, I said, you know, I would have never noticed the white specks before until it looked beautiful. But once it looked beautiful, then all of a sudden my eyes can see the thing that can make it even better. Then once the white specks are gone, my eyes are going to look at it and go, this is a beautiful floor. How can we make it better? Maybe we should build a stage. You know, once we've built the stage, my eyes go, gosh, the stage is so nice. I wonder if it could be lit better than it is. You know, so my brain's always going to that next thing immediately. And so I tell them not to get disheartened, to get excited, because I'm going to celebrate the win. I'm going to celebrate, hey, this looks great. But I'm not going to lie and tell you I don't see the white speck, because I do now. And not only that, but I'm appreciative of you for painting the floor black, because until you painted it black, nobody could have seen the white speck before. The white speck would have been invisible because there's so many specks everywhere. You missed that imperfection. Well, now we can find it, and then we can make it better. And I bet you could relate to that with coding, actually. Same idea, right?
Yeah,
like
make it better.
You wouldn't find a piece of broken code until you fix something else, and then it's like that exposes your weakness, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, literally, that's kind of what happened this week. So.
That happened this week?
Yeah. Once you see something, you realize, oh, that was it. We wouldn't have discovered it if we didn't, go deep into it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's like in life in general. Once you manifest on one thing, you want to know, okay, what's the next thing can I do? What's the next thing? And you feel like the thing that you worked so hard for to just make happen has happened, and it seems like, wait, that was not really tough to achieve. And then you're like, okay, let's go for the next one. So yeah, I feel like it's a constant cycle or a process of that. So that's nice to understand what you both do. And yeah, I really like that analogy.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so what do you got next for us?
Well, I guess it was more towards of course you just spoke a little bit about the uprootedness of the pandemic and stuff, but I just wanted to know what your biggest learning has been or takeaway. It can be on a studio perspective or just as a personal thing. What has this whole situation kind of taught you?
Well, it's taught me a few things. The very first thing was just how important it is to turn to God. Just you got to live in that space, and when you're in that space, it makes anything in life easier to navigate. So if you start there and you don't wait until the crisis hits, then you're already going to be in peace. It made me realize how fragile we all are as human beings and how small we all are. We have these what we think in our little circle is such a big deal, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, you're not going to travel anymore. like everything could be sort of stripped from you very quickly. Yeah. So that was an interesting realization as well. So yeah, I mean that was kind of it. And I think when a big crisis happens in anybody's life, and in this case it happened to the world simultaneously, you see you see, you talk about manifestation, you see what's brewing underneath the skin, it starts to come to light. So I'm really grateful that we were in a place that we were, and honestly that we weren't in the same state of mind we were like 8 years ago or something, when we were still trying to find our way. Because like when I look back at our feeds and look back at our different thing and how we reacted to this, I'm really proud of it. You know, I mean, it brought to light a lot of like, I mean, we're stressed just like everybody else and scared just like everybody else, but our reaction to it was love. Our reaction to it was generosity and giving. And for anybody, like if we're stuck in any kind of an addiction, or we're stuck in any kind of negativity or different things, like those things will come to the surface during this time. So, you know, my wife and I put in a lot of hard work on our marriage, and so like the goodness of our marriage came out, you know, and the extra lovingness and all sorts of like just positivity. We've worked really hard as a team here to connect and be open and honest and work through problems. And I mean, we've grinded on that for about 2.5 years. So now when this came up, all of a sudden that stuff was much easier to deal with. So, my heart goes out to everybody who's right now just completely isolated and feeling alone, and some of these negative thought patterns or behaviors or habits are coming to the surface. And that's part of our mission right now, is we want to reach these people, reach everybody, and just say, hey, you're not alone. Everybody's feeling the same types of feelings, and you know, you can get help right now, because it's a really, really, really big deal. You know, what's happening, and the fact that like all these different scenarios are happening all at the same time, and bringing all this, like I said, all this dark to the light, and that kind of experience to see what's real. All of a sudden, it's causing, you know, divorce, and it's causing, you know, people to get angry and lose their jobs, and you know, and all this stuff, and that leads to a much bigger and worse epidemic, which is depression, which can lead to something even worse. So. So we want to just help people kind of reframe their mind, get themselves in a place of positivity, in a place of self-love, and then hopefully attack this from there is our big goal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, I 100% agree with whatever you just said. Couldn't have said it better, and nothing to add to that. But yeah, definitely a lot of gratefulness every day. Like I like the way even you mentioned before, like how you wake up every morning with that gratitude. I think that's a lot of what the studios taught me too, like that gratitude as well. So I think that also, I think surprisingly has helped me with the manifestation. You're grateful for what you already have, and now you're like setting yourself up for what's to come. So I think it all comes into play. So yeah, I guess this is like my final question as to just kind of wrapping things up. So I've been like thinking a lot about, you know, my goals and purpose and things like that. And this is just like it's not something that I've been able to act upon right away, but I'm just like thinking about it. So I got this opportunity to watch this show called Never Have I Ever, which I actually did a self-tape for in the studio, and now it's like become this #1 Netflix show. And I'm like happy that I even did the self-tape, because that was like my first step. Like, okay, yeah, it's an open call, and like a bunch of people are gonna audition for it, but I wanted to get myself out there and try it. The experience of just doing a self-tape was amazing, like in a professional setting. But I realized watching that show and how much I could relate to it. It's about like an Indian American girl growing up in LA, and like that whole experience, and it was so relatable. And I was thinking how I would love to like create something which is like even on a level of Seema at like this age, or you know, something like that, like at an age of like being in your mid-20s. And a lot of shows give me inspiration to write and create and produce. I think I love acting, but there's just been so much inspiration to create stuff. Like I love making music videos. Like I've made music videos just on myself, starring myself and stuff.
You're great at those, by the way. I love those music videos. They're awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So like, yeah, so like I love like tying in music with a storyline and like my real life experiences with everything. And it's like I want to create something like this. But specifically, what with the creation and stuff, like what are your thoughts and suggestions about how to go about it? Like, of course, you know, you can create something like create a video and things like that, but there's so much budget or production like constraints with those things. So other than that, just to get the skills and training out of it, what do you suggest? This is just again part of the like manifesting process.
Yeah, I mean, I think you already know the answer. I think you already said it. There really isn't there isn't a better answer than that.
Yeah.
It's realistic. Be honest with yourself with where you are and where you want to go, and don't try to skip steps. But be okay with where you are and do what you can with what you have. You know, so like I have a really good, for instance, here. I'll show the camera. This is a podcast here called Sushi with Seema right here.
Yeah.
And while this show was going, I became a follower and a big fan of this show here, right here. And you guys should go follow Sushi with Seema. It's a important show here. It's a podcast. This is on Spotify, right? Now that where else is it? It's probably, is it on different things or is it just Spotify?
It's on Apple.
It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. Like, so think about this. Right.
Yeah.
At one point in time, this was just a dream, and now all of a sudden you've got like a cool logo. I mean, look at that. That's so cool. That's amazing. And you've got downloads, and you have tracking, you have all this cool stuff going on, and now you're making a difference, you know, on a small scale, and that can be scalable eventually, you know, as you gain the confidence. So there really isn't any other like trick to it. I was getting the thing on the computer.
Okay, give me a minute.
Hey, thanks.
Oh, Joey's like on it.
He handed me something. I was like, no, I didn't mean that. I meant this. Well, we lost our video here.
But I didn't.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna talk to everybody.
She's still there.
While I wait for. Oh, there she is. Okay, she's back. Okay, cool. So basically, it's you know, pick up the camera you have. And do what you can with what you have, and then do study. So when my thought is, so I ran into this just recently with the SEO stuff, you know, and I was trying to learn analytics and figure out our digital presence and all these different things. Well, as I was doing that, I had no idea, Seema, like holy moly, we have been living and breathing on referrals and word of mouth alone, because our digital presence was terrible. It was so bad. And so what's crazy is, as when I would go down one path and try to fix something, I'd pick up a rock and there'd be a bunch of ants, and I'm like, I wish I didn't pick up that rock, you know. But then instead of moving on, I got to stop and fix this problem before I move on. And I think that's probably the best advice I can give anybody, like getting into anything, but let's take production as an example. I don't know what I don't know, so I'm going, all right, I'm gonna make this movie, this thing. Okay, great. So then I'm gonna go say, all right, now I want to do this shot. I want it to match this show or this movie that I really like, and I want the shot to look like this. Then you look into how could I make that happen, and you're gonna run into a bunch of problems and a bunch of things you don't know. Just stop there and learn those things for that one shot, and then you become better and you achieve a small goal, and then guess what? You're going to run into another problem. So it's a never-ending process, which is the fun part, you know? Like, it's like, think about SEO or whatever. Like, there's no end to it. There's literally no end to the process of getting better in certain areas, or really in any area. So as you develop as a filmmaker, there is no end goal. There is no like destination. It's just a process of where you are currently. So right now, I mean, I don't think we've had you on the classes, the virtual classes, but it's unbelievable what we're doing. Like, we created a new genre of acting now, and it's really neat. Like, actors are doing all these creative things with camera angles and costumes and different things, and like, it feels like you accidentally stepped into a Zoom call that you shouldn't be a part of. That's how the acting feels. It's really neat. It feels like a real TV show, you know? And so like, that's how the classes have been. So now I'm going, all right, if that's true, what else is true? We could make a show like this. Like, you could totally make a show if you learn the style of acting, learn how to do it, and then commit to it with your phone and a friend with a phone, you could have a show. and put something up, and I guarantee you there will be shows.
Yeah,
in the next
that's what
year.
SNL did too.
Yeah, that's what SNL did. But I'm talking about like when we don't have to, they'll do it because it's cool. It's actually an interesting way to shoot. It's like when The Office came out and they sort of invented this new genre. This is a new genre of acting. It's brand new and it's really, really neat.
Yeah.
So
true.
so basically no excuse, and you already know this, but it's just go for it, you know. And you're already doing it with your, even think about your music videos. You're getting closer to making a TV show.
Yeah. Just gotta get that script up.
That's right. And how do you become a script writer? You just start writing every day. You just do little writings every day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, those were my questions.
All right. Well, before we wrap, how do we follow Seema, Joey?
At Seema Raman on Instagram, and we'll play her.
Oh, that's great. We have a music video right here queued up.
We actually do.
For everyone to see, and I really think that this is gonna get a lot of followers over here.
Oh no.
Here we go. We gotta play this. Is there audio, Joey? How do we get audio?
Well,
for the music video, we're gonna need.
It's just a video.
It's
not a music video.
It's not?
Oh, you know what? Hold on. It's coming through. We just can't hear it for some reason. Right? Oh, maybe.
There's a YouTube link for it too.
Let's go to the YouTube link. That was anticlimactic.
That was an epic fail is what that was.
But you can follow Seema at Seema Raman. That's SeemaRaman. And as a matter of fact, we're going to the YouTube now, which is or it's a YouTube channel. Oh, that's just like a bunch of jumble. Just look up Seema. Just look up Seema Raman.
I'll put the channel on.
We need to get you a you need to get one of those links at the end of your channel. You know you could do that.
Oh.
You can request like a name that's yours.
Oh yeah. Where's the chat thing on this? Oh.
And then of course you're gonna want to go and listen to Sushi with Seema, her podcast, which is, I mean, that's taken off too, hasn't it?
Oh yeah. I've been doing it like even with the whole quarantine situation. I've been doing like Zoom kind of podcasts so that like I can talk to people who don't live in Phoenix or are my friends or like acquaintances like across the world and stuff. So that's been pretty remarkable to do as well. Like take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, that's amazing. As a matter of fact, if you'll have me on there, I will be on your podcast and you should be on mine. We should do a little podcast.
Yes, I was like, I told Shay that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, you got something for us, Joey?
Collaboration.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Hopefully, it will play sound.
You can do it. Joey the Genie to the rescue.
Joey the Genie.
All right. I'm going to have to put it on that screen. And here,
it's like the anticipation.
Make it come through. We'll try that. Try this one on for size. All right, here we go. Drum roll, please.
Is it gonna work? No, there's no sound.
No, there's no sound.
Here, we'll just be the sound.
Like, just like the sound.
Oh, that's beautiful. This is shot so well. Okay, so you're going to have to go to Seema's Instagram and Seema's YouTube in order to hear the music to go along with this beautiful, beautiful dancing.
It's kind of like a teaser.
It is a teaser. That's right. It's a wonderful teaser.
It like makes them have to go watch it.
And for sure, this just raised the production value of our show. I can tell you that much right now.
Yeah.
And the beauty of our show too, because it's just you and I right now, Joey.
What?
It's just our faces right now.
Yeah,
so throwing Seema on there is a big win. All right.
For sure.
Seema, thanks so much for being on the show this morning. It was a lot of fun. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. This has been Mornings with Matt. Please remember to hit the subscribe button. That means a lot to us. Like and share these videos. We sure appreciate you. God bless.
Yay, thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.